Hello, welcome everyone. I hope everybody is having a wonderful Thursday. It's April 30th, and I thought it would be fitting for me to invite an incredible attorney that I know from the Evictions Defense Fund, who is going to speak to us about our rights and what to do in case we can afford our rent. A lot of us have lost our jobs for due to COVID-19. A lot of people have been harassed and asked to give their arm and their legs by their landlord. Other landlords are working with folks, and it's exciting to see that. So I thought it would be a good time for us to have Elena Popp join us and answer any of the questions that you might have. So again, if you are watching from YouTube, from Twitch, from Twitter and Facebook, welcome. If you are watching me here on Instagram, you see that I'm parallel streaming because Elena couldn't join us through Instagram today, but I figured you guys were going to really get a good session with her and be able to ask her questions. If you have a friend, if you know of someone that is in need of this information, please go ahead and tag them or send them this stream right now. If you're not watching from Facebook, or if you just don't have the capability of social media, or you're just not into social media, just please go to my YouTube channel and send it to folks so that they can ask questions and that they can watch. So welcome everyone, and with no further ado, let me invite Elena. Oh, hi Elena.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing good. You look great.
We're doing our best here.
I know it's really hard. I know it's really hard right now, but you're right. We're all doing our best, and I'm really grateful for you to join my live stream right now. Tomorrow is the 1st. A lot of us have lost our jobs, our source of income. A lot of people are sick. A lot of people were let go because of COVID-19. A lot of people also use this moment to get rid of people that they don't like anymore, they don't like to work with anymore. So there's a lot going on. And in terms of folks that rent, I wanted to invite you to speak to us a little bit about our rights. So thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. So tell us a little bit about who do you work with?
I work for a nonprofit agency called the Eviction Defense Network. We are in California, Los Angeles, LA County, and we serve the entire county of Los Angeles. We counsel about 5,000 people a year, and we represent between 1,000 and 2,000 in eviction court. During the COVID crisis, based on our daily averages, if this kept up for a year, we would counsel 6,866 people a year.
Wow. Have you seen a big increase in the past? How many weeks we have now? 6 to 8 weeks. Have you seen a big increase of eviction cases that come to you?
Not eviction cases, because right now the courts are not issuing a summons, but we are getting lots of people asking questions about what to do if they cannot pay their rent. Lots of people asking questions about all the new laws that have been passed. Lots of people with complaints about harassment. 52% of our callers are being harassed in some way. And we are seeing illegal lockouts, illegal utility terminations, and other illegal activities by landlords trying to force people to move, either because their rents are low or because they haven't paid the rent.
Right. So before we go on more with questions that our audience has, and just some other questions that I got before this live stream, let's talk about what are the rules right now, and what are the protections around renters. At least here in LA or in LA County, I know that it varies, according to the city that you live in. But what are some of our basic rights when it comes to tenants right now? Almost May 1st in LA County.
The very first basic right applies to everyone in the state. Everyone in the state has this protection. An entity called the Judicial Council, which is sort of the governing body of all the courts, passed a rule that says that the court clerk cannot issue a summons. The summons is the paper that gives the court power over the defendant, or in this case, the tenant. Without a summons, court has no power to proceed. So this is a very important step, and summonses will not be issued until 90 days after the government lifts the state of emergency.
Got it.
The governor lifts the state of emergency. 90 days later, first summons can be issued. When a tenant gets the summons and the complaint, they then have 5 days to file an answer. Now, a couple of little issues. The landlord can still serve you a 3-day notice. The landlord can still file the complaint. The court will send you a letter saying that the complaint has been filed. And we've had a couple of cases where the court sent the wrong notice and it says you have 5 days to answer. We quickly got them to correct that. And we've had at least 2 landlords that have printed a summons off of the court's website and served it on the tenant, trying to trick them into filing an answer. The reason they want to trick them into filing an answer is because if you file an answer, you lose that 90 days that the Judicial Council thought tenants are going to need after the crisis is over to get a job, get reestablished, save some money before you're dragged into court. So this doesn't solve the problem. It doesn't forgive the rent. It doesn't even provide a defense to the eviction. Those defenses we've gotten locally at the city and county level. But it does delay things long enough so that we can pass better laws and get people adjusted, including earning some money. That 90 days is very important, so you shouldn't waste it by filing an answer.
Got it. So basically, right now by law, yes, they can, file an eviction, your landlord, but the court is not actually, giving out the kind of like the form that you get. And also, even if they do, you have up to 90 days after the emergency is lifted in California to deal with an eviction. So basically, nobody today can get evicted.
That is correct.
So the police cannot come and grab your stuff. And so that's really good, that because I had another tenants' right lawyer a month ago and things were different. So I'm pleased to hear that this has changed, at least in, and it has progressed a little to alleviate for people that don't have, their funds to pay the rent.
This change happened on April 6th. And every day there's a change somewhere. Every day we're fighting every day. So we're seeing changes all the time, and we're still fighting for more rights, more protections. And so this is something that has to be done constantly, and people have to stay updated constantly. I've been publishing something called the COVID-19 Tenants Survival Guide for California with an LA County bias. So it can be in California, but we give more details for LA City and LA County. And you can get that. Can I announce how you can get that?
Yeah, absolutely. Let me know so I can actually post it to folks that want to do it. Yeah.
So there's 2 ways to get it. You can send an email to info at edn.la. It's E for eviction, D for defense, N for network, .la. If you send an email there, we'll send you the guide. It's 19 pages long, but it's a Q&A, most frequently asked questions, then all the laws, including workers' rights, government benefits, immigrants' rights. It's very, very comprehensive, sort of a one-stop place where you can get all the links to anything that you might need.
So just to rephrase, because I want to put it on the screen so people can kind of grab a pencil and a book, guys. We need to write this stuff down. So it's info@edn.com or .org?
.la.
.la.
At edn.la.
Okay, and
the other place you can get it, and this is also a place where you can dialogue with people, and it's really developed into a kind of a cool community. I got blocked by Facebook yesterday for sending out too many things. And all day long, people, I messaged one of the members, she messaged everyone, Elena's not going to be on today. So, and then people were giving each other guidance, and then people give each other guidance, and then I check every day and make little minor corrections. And it's turned into a really good
Facebook group. The Facebook group.
And it's called COVID-19 Tenants' Rights. Hashtag on every fridge. And the hashtag on every fridge.
Okay, I'm sorry. Hold on. I'm writing it down myself. So COVID-19 tenants' rights in every fridge.
Hashtag on every fridge.
On
every fridge. The hashtag comes from a campaign that is trying to get tenants' rights information on every refrigerator in LA County as an acknowledgement that we don't all have computers. So we also sometimes use hashtag on every compu, but hashtag on every fridge is what we really want to achieve. The refrigerator is the place where our elders used to put everything that they needed to find later on. So 10 years later, the information will be there because I got things on my refrigerator that I put on 15 years ago. So
Got it. Okay, beautiful. Yeah, and I belong to that group also, and I see all the movement around people supporting each other. Oh, I have that letter. I have this letter. Okay, so we learned that we cannot get evicted right now. We have 90 days until, from the day that the emergency is lifted. We don't know when that's gonna take place yet. Now, for example, this is like my personal experience. I lost my source of income because of COVID-19, completely zero. What's the first step that you recommend for somebody like me or anybody that is watching, or the friends that are sending this video to other friends? I see folks sharing that. What do you recommend to somebody that just can't pay the rent, in full? What's the first step? What do we need to do?
Well, I think people do need to notify their landlords that they're not going to be able to pay the rent. First, I think it's the polite thing to do.
Yes, absolutely.
Right. I mean, they need to know what's going on. I also think it reduces tension. Some of the tenants' unions are taking the position that if in a building there are people who don't have the evidence, then nobody provides the evidence. So as a way of backing up people who might not have evidence, but everyone should send a letter to the landlord saying, I have a COVID-19 reason not to pay the rent. And you can get a copy of that letter. In that packet, pages 21 and 22 are two versions of a letter. They both will work. One of them is softer, and the other one is, you better not mess with me. Choose the one that it articulates the tone you want to give out to your landlord. If your landlord's been harassing you all month over the April rent, use the second letter. If the landlord was cool in April, then use the first letter. If this is the first time you're withholding, that you're not paying your rent because of COVID-19, probably use the first letter. But if your landlord's always been a jerk, then go ahead and use the second letter. You decide which one you want to use.
Okay, beautiful. Well, so what I did personally was I called my landlord and I explained that due to COVID-19, I have lost my source of income, and that it was my full intention to pay him, but clearly it was choosing one for the other, which I don't think this is the common denominator. This is what's happening to a lot of people out there. Do I pay rent, or do I pay for my car insurance, or do I pay for that and for food? And I have my kids. I mean, I'm lucky that that it's just, but I'm by myself. I don't have, children or anything like that. So I was able to negotiate with him, and I said, hey, I want to pay, but this is how much I can pay. So I was able to do that with him, and he was cool about it. And I just posted on the comments a letter that actually the city council or the county of Los Angeles is requiring to give like an official letter to landlords. I don't know if you have seen it. Is from the HCIDLA, from the LA City, basically, just basically saying that you can pay because there were some other letters lingering, I guess, and the landlords were not taking them.
So here's my concern about that letter. I have seen it. So that's for the city. At the bottom of it, there's this payment plan thing. So if you are absolutely sure you're going to be able to enter into a payment plan, go for it. But I think most people don't know when the crisis is going to end, when they're going to get reemployed. And so I would recommend against entering into a payment plan or negotiating right now. What you did is okay. You can go to your landlord and say, hey, I have 500 of the whatever 1,000 it is. But if you enter into an agreement to pay rent in the future, that could be used against you, and you could lose some of the protections we've gotten.
Oh my God, Elena, I wish I would have spoken to you before.
I always have this conversation with friends. I could not be more obnoxious on social media, bugging people about always talking to a lawyer first. And we're here to help. So you signed an agreement. This is good. Okay. So not good for you, but good for the viewers. Yes, so you signed an agreement to pay the amount back in when?
Yeah. So just to be clear, guys, I mean, I personally went ahead and negotiated a lower rent with my landlord. But what Elena is warning me and warning us is that if we do that, and in the future, let's say next month, I'm completely out zero and I cannot pay my $500 that I negotiated with him, then that can take away some protections that I could have, wouldn't I have not negotiated anything?
It could, but you can look at what you signed, right? So it depends on what that agreement says. And so probably you should send me an email tomorrow to ask an attorney at edn.la. And then I will look at what you signed and we'll fix it. One of the things that we've been pushing with the city of LA and the county of LA is that tenants should not be allowed to enter into agreements with their landlords that are enforceable without consulting with a lawyer.
Consulting with a lawyer.
For people to get advice from an attorney.
So for the 100th times, friends, if you can talk to a lawyer, I put in the comments info at edn.la. Email these folks, join the community on Facebook, and ask a lawyer before you enter any negotiations or any agreements with the lawyer. Now, this is a really good question. I'm sorry, before you enter any conversations with your landlord. This is something that is a really good question. So the question is, hold on a second, okay. So if somebody pays me cash, do I need to show proof that COVID-19 impacted us? I guess to say that that you can pay your rent. And I tell you, because one of the first things that my landlord asked, he said, I need to see a letter that you lost your job.
Okay. So the answer to that question is, it depends on where you live.
Okay.
So the first rule that I talked about with the 90 days, that's statewide, everyone. But the rule about when do you have to send a letter to your landlord, that depends on where you live. I'm recommending that everybody sends a letter to your landlord. It's the polite thing to do. It lowers tension. Send a letter to your landlord. You have two options, a nice one and a harsh one.
Right. And this we can find on the resources that you already shared with us. And okay, perfect. Now the city link that they have been giving out.
I don't like that city letter. It talks about payment plans. It gets the landlords all into, but the city says you have to do a payment plan. The city doesn't say that. The city is recommending that. If landlords keep harassing people using that city letter, we're going to go to my client, and who has been the most supportive city council member, and get him to pass a resolution or a motion that city letter should not be used because it's being used to harass people into entering into payment plans when they're not ready to do that because they don't know when they're going to get reemployed. So, of the evidence to answer our viewers' question. The evidence depends on the city that count or whether you're in the county. So we're trying to fight for this to apply everywhere, but right now it only applies in the county of Los Angeles and in any city in the county of Los Angeles that didn't pass a stronger law or that did not pass a law at all. And in the county, you can self-certify. And then they didn't define what that means. And it probably means you can go to court and say, I was paid under the table and I don't have any evidence. It just means you're going to declare it or certify it yourselves. But that doesn't apply in the city of Los Angeles. And it doesn't apply in the city of Pasadena or the city of Santa Monica. So you have to look at your local ordinance, at your local law, to see what they're requiring in terms of documentation. And the document that we send you when you join the COVID-19 group, it's right in files. You can link on it right there. And the document that we send you when you send an email to info@edn.la explains all of this. Do I have to pay my rent? Do I have to, can the landlord evict you? All these questions that people ask all the time are answered in a question and answer format. And then it has a table with a list of all the cities and a link to the exact wording of the law in that city. And then at the last part of that table, there's what we call trackers. There are about 4 organizations that are summarizing the laws. And so you can read all the trackers, so you can read it in plain people language instead of, whereas, and where to whore, and where, lots of confusing stuff. So the summaries are in the section that's called trackers. You look up your city, you read it, and you figure out what you need to do. And then if you've done that and you're still confused and you have a question, you can send an email to Ask an Attorney.
Okay, I'm writing it down. Ask an Attorney
at edn.la. Okay. We're about 10 days behind answering those emails. So your subject line needs to be clear. Your subject line needs to have your name, your address, so we can look up what law applies to you. Both the emergency law and whether you have rent control or whether you're covered by the statewide Tenant Protection Act, and we need the address to do that. And then something that clearly states why you're emailing. 3-day notice to pay rent or quit. Got a paper from the court.
Okay.
Landlord is throwing my stuff out right now. Okay.
Well, I have comments coming from all places. So one of them is my landlord has not been accepting my rent since prior to the crisis because they file an eviction case. So what happens to them?
Okay, so people are already in eviction court. Don't have to worry. First, they should hire a lawyer if they don't have one already. The eviction cases keep getting continued and continued and continued. And they will not get going again until the crisis is over. And then they're going to be so backed up, and then all these new cases are going to come in on top of those. So it's going to be a mess to get through all of these cases. It's going to take a long time. And I think that that's going to result in cases settling in a favorable way for tenants, that you get to stay, payment plans, or reduced rent. So I think that, so people that are in eviction proceedings do not have to worry. The court will send you whatever your next date is. And if you don't have an attorney, you should send an email to askanattorney@edn.la, and we'll screen you for eligibility for free services. And if you're not eligible for free services or free services reject you, we'll see who else can represent you.
So these folks that are already going through proceedings of evictions and now with COVID happen, do they need to send also a letter saying that they cannot pay? No, because they're already... No, okay. You're good. Jasmine asking on Instagram, is You're good. You don't need to do that. So I'm gonna move on because I'm getting a lot of questions, and I'm like backed up. But somebody asked, of course, if they can make a little payment. Could that protect them? And I think we both talked about that. That
a little payment neither protects you nor hurts you. So
okay.
if you want to give, if you know you can give your landlord $500 this month without going hungry next and next and next, then give your landlord $500. But don't agree to give your landlord $500 every month and don't give up any rights. Okay?
Beautiful. Well, I got this one, Tao, if you can clarify, because it says here, what if I enter into an agreement without knowing what I signed? So I'm assuming,
first of all, people just need to, I need to look at the specifics. I need to look at the agreement. But I hear a lot. There are three things I hear when people sign things that they shouldn't have. I was forced into it. If you tell me you were forced into it, I'm going to ask you the caliber of the gun or the length of the knife, because the only way they can force you is through violence, and then we can get rid of it. So feeling harassed by a landlord and then signing an agreement generally does not void that agreement. I think that in this crisis, we can argue that it can void the agreement. I need to look at the agreement, see how strong it is, etc.
okay.
If you don't know what you signed, if there was no meeting of the minds, if you thought it was this, but it was really this, and you were tricked into signing it, then sometimes we can void those agreements. We're also looking to get our elected officials to pass laws that say if a tenant sign a repayment agreement between March 4th and 90 days after the state of emergency is lifted, then that agreement is void unless it was approved by a lawyer, or that agreement is just void and now tenants should go to lawyers. So the person who's asking the question, I would like her to go through Ask an Attorney at edn.la. I would like her to send the agreement. I would like to wait patiently until we get to her, because nothing's happening for 90 days, right?
Yeah, that's the good news that we have time. Okay, so this is a good question, because I think a lot of folks were stranded in the middle, that some of them got caught up. So specifically in this case, they got a rent increase, I'm assuming right before February 28th. I pay my rent an increase for April before I knew about the rent increase freeze. What do I do for May?
So there's no rent increase freeze for you. If they served it before March 4th, then it applies. The renting, and I'm also assuming, I always tell people you need to ask where the person is from. So assuming you're from the city of LA, which is where there's a rent freeze, I also think there's also a rent freeze in the county of LA. It's for any rent increases issued after the state of emergency started. So your rent increase was issued before the state of emergency started, and therefore it is valid. But it
applies.
It applies. But if you don't have the rent for May because of a COVID-19 related reason, you can not pay it, send the letter. And if you have part of it, or I had a client who got a big rent increase right before the crisis. He got another job to be able to pay it. He got a second job. But then that second job closed down. So he can pay his old rent. He doesn't want to withhold rent. He doesn't want to pay the increase because he can't afford the increase. That increase was also a violation of the Tenant Protection Act. But between the Tenant Protection Act.
Elena, we lost you just now. You froze. While we wait for Elena to return, while we wait for Elena to return, I want to open it up. This is great, guys. Keep sending your questions. She's here to help. We have been adding some information in the hold on a second. Sorry. We have been adding some information here. So email info@edn.la or ask an attorney at edn.la. We have just been going over a few things like you cannot get evicted. We have up to 90 days to respond from the day that the eviction notice is, oh, I'm sorry, from the day where the emergency day is lifted. So we don't know when that's going to happen. And you know, so it's still up in the air. So while I wait for Elena to return on the green room and to come back to us, I'm gonna see if I'm able to answer a few of your questions, guys. If not, we'll just wait for her. So please keep putting your questions on the comments. So is anything being done to forward the protection to tenants and harassment? So there is a few harassment questions. I know that from the Department of Water and Power, from LADWP here in Los Angeles, we had they have been working with customers to not shut off their services. This conversation mostly relates to tenants. So I mean, you know, there are landlords that have their own methodology on how to do things, and you know, you just gotta try to keep your your side of the street clean, and make sure that you can that you're sending your letter, that you're paying your rent on that. If you can't, you can pay whatever you can, and that you let your landlord know first and foremost that you are unable to pay the rent again. So let me see what happened to Elena while we wait for her. Let's see what else. We are self-employed. Okay, I think she's back. So let me just bring her in.
Sorry about that.
You're back. Yay.
So where was I? Did we both?
I can hear you perfect.
Okay, so the person who got the rent increase February 28th should send the rent increase notice to ask an attorney with the subject line, name, address, got an increase on February 28th. We'll queue you up. Don't get anxious. We're about 10 days behind. We're prioritizing people with illegal lockouts. Just be patient.
Okay. I got from Instagram and also here on Facebook, 2 people asking around harassment. So somebody has anything been done to protect tenants from harassment? But this question is really good. My landlord called the electric company, and Lisa, can you let us know, guys, when you put your questions, please put like where you're asking from. So if it's LA or another city, so we know. And they came out yesterday and said that they're coming back today to shut it off, the electricity. I thought that DWP was not allowed and was not doing that right now.
Personally. They're not cutting off the power for non-payment.
Mm-hmm.
That's not what's happening here. This is an illegal utility termination by the landlord. And Lisa Marie Collins needs to send me an email, especially if she's in LA County. And if she's not, she should still do it. Lisa Marie Collins, her address, and then my utilities are going to be shut off tomorrow. And in the email, I need your landlord's email if you have it, telephone number if you have it, and I will call them right now.
Central. She just posted that she's calling from Los Angeles South Central, so from South LA.
Yeah. So if she sends me all at once, all the information I need, as soon as the broadcast is over, I will call the landlord. And what I'm going to say is, a few days before the crisis started, we settled a case where our client had been locked out in the heat for 5 hours. 5 hours for $250,000. You do not want to meet me or any of my attorneys in court for turning off the utilities. We will sue you.
And I got an email from DWP, at least I live in Los Angeles. I was actually a commissioner for the Department of Water and Power for LADWP. And I know that they, at least in their communication, they have been trying to really accommodate people, and they said that they were not going to do shut-offs. What's particular about this is that it seems like the landlord called. It's not about them not paying the bill, but it's more that the landlord. But do the landlord has authority to do something like that?
The post said that the landlord pays the bill. So yes, the landlord. If the landlord pays the bill, the landlord can call DWP and say shut it off. But if the utilities are included, that's an illegal act, and we can deal with that. And while Lisa Maria is waiting for me to do that, she should call immediately her city council person to let them know what's happening, so that we can get the documentation that this is happening going, so that we can also pass a motion that no utilities get shut off if there's a tenant in the place.
And for Lisa Maria and for everybody that is watching with your DWP questions, I will definitely be calling them myself and trying to figure out what's going on and ask them to maybe provide some sort of sheet or whatever, like some sort of information. And also maybe I have somebody from DWP join us about that. So that might be something that we should do next week. So let me work on that. But in the meantime, this happened to me too. My landlord asked for a letter of like, okay, are you laid off? But this person is asking if we're self-employed. Do we need to show how COVID affected your income? I guess if you're self-employed, so let's say you're self-employed.
So again, if people could say what city they're from. So in the city of Los Angeles, you will ultimately need to show it in court if the case goes to court. Okay. In the county of Los Angeles, there's this sort of soft requirement to show it, but you can also self-certify. Other jurisdictions, it depends on your jurisdiction. How do you show it? Well, if you're self-employed, you probably filed taxes last year, so you need to show your prior taxes. You can show receipts, and it's actually all so obvious that people are losing income if they're not in an essential service, right? So. But honestly, I think what's going to happen is settlement on all these cases. I don't think there's going to be such a
I really hope. I have been organizing with the tenants union, and hey, I want to be clear. This is not a situation where we just screw the landlord. We are under extreme circumstances. We're in the middle of a pandemic where there are millions of people in unemployment, where that unemployment sometimes is not even enough to pay your rent, or to survive. So I definitely have a lot of empathy, not just for renters, but for everyone. I mean, there's a lot of people that have multifamily homes and they depend on that to pay for their mortgage. And they were the first ones to be relieved, at least from the government, the mortgage folks. But there are also some landlords that are just not cool.
Yeah, actually, there's been no real relief for mortgage holders. We should clarify that. Okay. The government convinced the 4 major lenders to do loan forbearances. So it is very easy for a mortgage holder to send a letter or email to their bank and get time, so you're not going to get foreclosed. I think 3 months is pretty standard. So I thought I wasn't going to be able to make my mortgage because the Eviction Defense Network is a sliding fee scale program that operates on fees. And so I've laid off all my staff, including myself, except for one person who is managing all of our existing caseload, and anybody who comes in through Ask an Attorney that's already in eviction proceedings, she's handling them. But 4 of us are volunteering and everybody else is plain old laid off. So I wasn't sure I was going to make my mortgage, but we managed to cobble it together and go into savings, and I did pay it. But when I thought I wasn't going to, I wrote an email to my bank, and they immediately sent me a letter saying I didn't have to pay it for 3 months, but then I had to figure out a way to pay it.
Got it.
I had to pay it as soon as the 3 months were over, or I had to enter into an agreement with them. And I wasn't ready to do that. And I decided that it was better once we cobbled some money together and took some money out of savings to just pay our mortgage for April. Not sure we can do that twice, but yeah. So we're all in this boat.
Together. Basically, we are all in this boat together. Well, so, there are people also that are in, everything was fine, no evictions, no issues. But for example, Alexis, her lease is up in June, and he refuses to renew the lease if they don't pay tomorrow, May 1st.
So the first thing is we have to figure out whether you're protected by local rent control or not. And if you're not, are you protected by the Tenant Protection Act? So let's keep the answer general. The Tenant Protection Act was passed last year. It was passed due to the valiant efforts of the Housing Now Coalition, led by the Alliance of Californians for Community Empowerment. Everyone should join. And throughout that packet, you want it to be better, get involved. Join the Tenants Union, join ACE, join Tenants Together, join a group that's fighting for stronger protections, because without the fight, we're never going to get it. So we were fighting for stronger rent control locally. We lost this Prop 10 ballot last November and immediately got out there and passed this statewide rent control law. It's not the strongest law in the world. It allows for increases of up to 10% a year. But we were seeing people coming in with $1,000 a month rent increases.
Yeah.
And so now at least there's some restriction. And it also, the landlord has to have one of, I forget how many there are, I think 14 reasons to evict you. They can't just evict you without cause. So if they're protected by that, then the landlord has to renew the lease.
Okay. So just to be crystal clear, can the landlord refuse to renew my lease if I don't pay tomorrow?
So that would be retaliation. So no.
Right.
Okay.
No.
So whether you're protected by the Tenant Protection Act or not, if the landlord refuses to renew the lease because you didn't pay because of a COVID-19 related reason, then that would be retaliatory and invalid. In addition to that, you may be protected by the Tenant Protection Act, which protects all units not protected by rent control already in buildings that are more than 15 years old, except single-family homes, unless the single-family home is owned by a corporation. And it also doesn't protect duplexes if the owner lives in one of the sites. But it really protects most tenants, except for single-family home tenants and buildings built that are not 15 years old. Again, confused? Ask an attorney at edn.la. The laws are complicated, right? The laws are complicated.
Yeah, of course. And it's in the banner. You guys can see the information. I'm getting this question. I'm not quite sure, but what is the difference between an express and an implied agreement with my landlord in the city of LA? Not sure what this person means, but maybe you do.
I don't actually know either. That's a question being asked out of context. An express agreement might be something in writing where you specifically say, on next day, I'm going to do Y. An implied agreement probably is something like, no one said anything.
Let's just give Harold a little minute so he can rephrase his question and send it back about that, because I'm getting a lot of questions from other folks, like, for example, in Capital. I know this is done, but can my landlord record me because she wants to? I'm not doing anything wrong. I just feel harassed. We live in a big house with 5 bedrooms, and she lives here. And anytime she sees me, she starts to record me.
Yeah,
that's a tough.
That's a tough one, and it's always tough when people live in boarding houses. And I know Fernando asked this on the COVID-19 group. I told him to send an email to ask an attorney. I actually haven't gotten to that email, and I didn't see it on when I did my quick rundown this morning. So yeah, I suppose we can. Yeah, I honestly don't know. So I don't think Fernando has an expectation of privacy in the common areas of the house. If she's coming into his room to record, that would not be allowed. And maybe he should start recording her when he's in the common areas, and give her a little piece of her medicine, or just not let it bother him.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that I want to talk to tenants about, is that landlords harass, but honestly, people can't make you feel bad unless you let them make you feel bad.
Right.
And so part of what we need to do is put stuff in perspective, let it run off.
I want to zoom in a little bit on this, because I'm seeing a lot of desperate questions here, guys, that if you sit and take a deep breath, maybe we should need to all take it collectively right now and think about what they're asking you from an empowering place response. Like, for example, I'm reading this question about my landlord said that the emergency will be lifted on the 15th. Should I ask him where he sees that? I mean, like, I'm sure you can, but why? Just take a deep breath and smile. Thank you for letting me know. When we see those news, we'll cross that bridge. Like, guys, come, like, whatever practice you have, whether you walk, whether you talk to a friend, whether you meditate, whether you pray, whatever it is, come back to that empowering place. I feel like the beauty of what you do with your work at the EDN is that you empower tenants to take responsibility and not to get harassed around and push around, which I think that's what I'm sensing a lot of that in the comments right now. There's a lot of people, they're pushing me around. I'm like, well, you can also respond in an empowering way, in an educated way, and in a nice way. All of it, all together. You know?
Right.
So, I mean,
absolutely right. Don't engage. And in this packet, there's a sheet. What do I do if I'm landlord's harassing you? It gives you a step-by-step of what you should do so you protect yourself, communicate appropriately, and then start ignoring them, including we're recommending that people put a sign on their doors that say, this household is protected by the tenants' rights movement.
Right. That's powerful.
Do not knock on the door.
Yeah. The collective, coming together as a collective.
If I open the door, you will be recorded.
Mm-hmm.
Please put your request in writing so that I can take it to my tenants union and our solidarity attorney. That's to get the landlord to stop banging on the door. So that's also in the packet. It's also in the packet. But then you have to join a tenants union. You can't be saying you're in a tenants union if you're not. They are all over the city. And there's also the Alliance of Californians for Community Empowerment and Inquilinos Unidos, Unión de Vecinos.
Are you on mutual aid? That's what you want. But hey, get informed. And like and also there's a way to where you can respond with respect and love and from an empowering place. And guys, let's take a deep breath. We're all going through it. If people don't have work, people have half of it, they lost it. They're getting notices. Let's take all a deep breath and let's remember that there is light at the end of the tunnel here. You know, we're gonna get through it. So I have another question, and I think this is related to can my landlord refuse to renew my lease if I can pay? So no, it's retaliation. What if I have a month-to-month lease?
Okay, so again, it depends on where you live and on whether you're protected by rent control. Most people have month-to-month leases. If you are, so right now in the county of Los Angeles, there's rent control in unincorporated county, city of Los Angeles, Inglewood, Santa Monica, West Hollywood, Beverly Hills, and Culver City. So we have 7 rent control laws and a just cause ordinance, meaning they can raise the rent, but they can't evict you without a reason in Glendale. So we have 8 laws. And if none of those cover you, we have the Tenant Protection Act. So in all likelihood, you're protected by rent control. So when you're every month, you basically when you pay your rent, you get another month with rent control protections.
Right.
If you're not protected by rent control, then the landlord can give you a 30-day notice to quit if you've been there less than a year, and a 60-day notice to quit if you've been there a year or more, but not during this crisis. So during this crisis, there's protection there is protection everywhere in the county against this kind of eviction.
And the people are not gonna come to get you guys because they know that they can, at least in the city and in the county of Los Angeles. They cannot right now. So I know it's stressful. Trust me. And if you're like me, that I pride myself for never being behind a payment and, never taking government money. I get it. I totally get it. But this is an extreme situation. We are in a global pandemic that probably we might just be, and I hope that we're like the only generation that is going to see something like this. There's a lot of other generations that have not seen something like it. So let's just get through this. Somebody else asked, this is a really good question because I want to talk to you about rent cancellation or the other terms, basically like whoever couldn't pay the rent right now, that they don't have to pay it in the future. What would happen even if after this happens to you, you can't catch up on your rent.
So let's talk about the hopeful thing first. There are campaigns locally, at the state level, and nationally to hashtag cancel rent, hashtag cancel mortgages. And I think we should just use cancel. The people in the movement spent a lot of time talking about forgive and waive and defer and forbear. We settled on cancel. Let's just use cancel. Cancel rent. Hashtag cancel rent. Hashtag cancel mortgages. Right now, we are doing organizing on the Omar bill, which is the federal bill. I think that's our biggest chance to get rent and mortgage cancellation. There are two targets in California, Kamala Harris and Maxine Waters. These are like she-heroes. Why aren't they not already on board? We need to call their offices today, tomorrow. Call their offices and tell them your story and tell them to support the Omar bill. Let's start making this happen, number one. But let's suppose, and when we fight, we win. Y si se puede. And I don't want to get on the negatives, but let me put my lawyer hat on instead of my organizer hat on and say that in most of the local jurisdictions, there is some kind of, you have to pay it eventually. In some it's 4 months, in some it's 6 months. In the unincorporated county and any city that didn't pass a law, it is a year, and in the city of LA, it's a year. So for most of people, it's going to be a year. And so what I think is going to happen is 2 tsunamis or 2 waves of evictions. There's a wave of evictions right after like day 91, when landlords, okay, it's over, give me my money, and they file evictions. And I think we're going to win most of those or settle most of those because the law is on our side.
Right.
But unless something happens to either get rent cancellation or extend those deadlines or get some sort of additional defense, many people will not be able to catch up. And then we're going to have another wave of evictions, 4 months, 6 months, and then at the 12-month point. And one of the things that I'm working very hard is increasing the representation in the county. We're putting together proposals so that people will be represented by counsel in those cases. We win. We have success in 98% of the cases we handle. Okay, without lawyers, 99% of the tenants lose their housing.
People are asking for the California bill name. What can you remind us of the name again?
It's the Omar bill, and I think it's 6515. But let me. I will look up.
Somebody posted it on the comments. Thanks, community. Wow, we're really all working together today. Somebody already posted it on the comments. I love it. Thank you.
All right. So what is the number? 6515?
Somebody posted the whole Rent and Mortgage Cancellation Act of 2020, and that's at the federal level.
Yeah.
And beautiful. Okay, we got it. And somebody, thank you, Ben. Good looking out. He posted the whole link and everything of the bill.
And you call Maxine Waters and call Kamala Harris and say, we need to cancel rent, cancel mortgages.
Beautiful. We'll definitely get with that call to action. If you can pay your rent due to COVID, of course, and the management company threatens you to ruin your credit, what do you say?
So tell them that they don't want to meet Elliot Rosenberger in court after the crisis. We are gathering those cases. We have 3 consumer attorneys, one of them an Eden alum, someone who came through Eden and then went on to do consumer law. His name is Elliot Rosenberger, and we are going to be filing lawsuits, or they are going to be filing lawsuits against landlords that threaten or do ruin people's credit. So that person, ask an attorney at edn.la. In your email, to save me time, say you can refer this to a consumer attorney, and then I can just refer it to the 3 consumer attorneys, and you'll be talking to them.
Beautiful. Okay, so wow, I feel like we went on a marathon answering questions for the. I almost felt like last month you also joined me very quickly We did it in the evening for those folks that were still working. We were in that uncertain times, but now I feel like so many of us can afford to join at 3 p.m. and get on the live stream to talk about these issues that are so important to us. Somebody's asking this question, and I just want to kind of close us with more of like the organizing part. You know, what are we going to do? I want to remind folks that are watching something. In Los Angeles, we have a governmental structure that where the city council has a lot more power than the mayor. We cannot wait for the mayor. We need the city council to come on board and to approve this. They have tried a couple of times, some of the city council members, but it has not passed. We need to put pressure on the city council and ask them to finally do hashtag cancel rents and hashtag cancel mortgages. So what do you have to say to folks, to Alexis that is asking what is it going to take?
You need to join your tenants union. You need to join the Alliance of Californians for Community and Empowerment. You need to join Healthy
LA, the Healthy LA Coalition.
LA Coalition. It's a coalition that is passing, that has gotten you what you've gotten so far. You need to. There's a whole set of actions in the packet that you're gonna get when you contact us, or just go find it on the COVID-19 group. When we say, please call the city council tomorrow because we're doing an action alert, you need to do that.
Right.
I'm not a big fan of most electeds. It takes a lot to get me to be a fan, but I have become quite the fan of Mike Bonin, who has been the hero in this. He just keeps going up against his colleagues and pushing hard, and we keep missing it by one vote. So if you're in Nuri Martinez's district, you need to put pressure on her, and don't let her say, but we gave rent subsidies. First of all, rent subsidy is a waste of taxpayer money because it doesn't make the situation any better. Second, the amount of money they've allotted will not even start to hit the problem. And so we really need rent forgiveness. We need actually to, a lot of landlords are saying, I'm going to go belly up. Well, maybe we should buy your building from you at a fair price so that rents are not subject to this speculative market that has so many people homeless right now because the rents are too damn high.
Right.
So we need to really, talk about getting housing into the hands of limited equity co-ops, land trusts, tenant-controlled nonprofits, and not be at the mercy of this market. People ask me all the time, how did the rents get so high? One guy decided to charge a tenant more, and the landlord next door said, oh, you're getting 200 more? I think I'll do that. And this guy and that guy, and before you know it, the whole neighborhood, and then the next neighborhood is a spiraling thing that between May of 2016 and September of 2016, rents in Pico Union, which is one of the toughest neighborhoods in the city, for a rent-infested single went from $800 to $1,100.
Yeah.
Just like that.
Yeah, a lot of people got in place.
That's not okay. That is absolutely not okay. And the way you stop it is by taking housing out of this speculative market and putting more and more housing under community control.
Absolutely. Thank you. I want to thank you so much for joining me today. We're going to have to do this again, I feel, because I especially wanted to get you in today because I know tomorrow's the 1st and people are really desperate. If you are facing an eviction, take a deep breath. They cannot kick you out of your home. If they're threatening you with cutting your bills, do not worry. They cannot do that. If you have leases that you need to renew and such, it's okay. Just take a deep breath. You have 90 days, I believe, after the emergency is lifted. We don't even know when the emergency is going to be lifted, guys. We need to hold each other's strength in the organizing that we need to do with the LA Tenants Unions, with the EDN, and with other many organizations that you can find in my profile or in Elena's Thank you. Thank you so much for joining me today.
We could put the survival guide on your profile. People can just get it from you.
So somebody asked me about this. So yes, this is going to be up forever. In fact, you can go back, you can share with your friends. If you have other questions, you can stop, take notes. The emails are already on the screen. It's also on YouTube for those people that don't have social media. There are people out there that they're not with social media. So please go ahead and share with folks, and let's make sure that our community has support. We are here all for each other. And let me know if you guys have any questions. Thank you, Elena. We love you so much. I love Elena.
My pleasure.
Thank you so much. And I know people are, yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for all the work that you do. And actually, I wanted to ask the community, if you have an extra dollar that you can spare, please donate to the Eviction Defense Network, and make sure that they get the resources so they can help all of us right now. Like, I mean, it breaks my heart to hear that you haven't been able to, you know, I mean, we're all on it's difficult times, but thank you, Elena. Have a great day. We'll talk very soon. And thank you for all of you that were watching. Thank you so much for joining me today. My name is Aura Vasquez, and if this is content that you enjoy, please send it to a friend, tag them in the comments, let them know that they have a community of support out there that they can count on. If you have other topics, please don't hesitate to let me know. I think I'm gonna, out of this conversation, I think I'm going to maybe have some other guest panelists from our utility that can answer questions, and that will be wonderful to have as well. So I hope everyone has a blessed Thursday. Guys, we're on this together. Do not despair. Do not worry. If you like what you saw, please follow me. Support, our local network of tenants and our network of leaders that are doing incredible work. So thank you, guys. Thank you so much. And you have an amazing day. So we'll talk very soon. And next week, I'll see you with more speakers. So put your alarm when I post on my social media so that you can join and we can all learn together. Have a blessed day. Bye-bye.